Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and travel baseball finally starts back in my area of the world tomorrow. We're going to have a 14-year-old is going to do a tournament starting tomorrow, and so we're going to get back to it. Now, I wanted to give a shout out here to start this video. This guy said, his name's Charlie Mayo. He had tweeted this out. I've watched the Greg Kidd interview by the Digital Asset Investor like 20 times. So I retweeted his tweet and I said, thanks, man. So you are 20 out of almost 60,000 at this point, have had an overwhelming response online and from people involved in the investor call. More good things to come. Thanks. And that's true story right there. I have had really good feedback, not just in social media, but also I have been in touch with the people that conducted that investor call. And we do have some interesting things coming on the horizon because their words, not mine, that I had hit a home run with the interview. So I felt really good about it, and I appreciate everybody's positive response there. Okay, now sometimes I see narratives forming, and this was one. This is from Brad Garlinghouse's interview yesterday. It struck me that Brad Garlinghouse all of a sudden is talking about XRP in terms of a safe haven investment. So I'm going to show you again what he said, and then I'm going to show you how all this ties in.
Here, so keep that in mind. One of the things I will also talk about as we get things started is, as I was talking about the kind of debasement of currencies, when we saw in the global financial crisis, kind of 2008, 2010, depending on what time scale you want to use, you saw a lot of new deficit spending and inflationary dynamics. And that was very positive for gold. As you see in this chart, gold was up about 100% over the years after the global financial crisis. And I think you're going to see crypto play a role like digital gold. And there's some data to support that as well. So the next slide talks about some specific examples where crypto as digital gold is kind of gaining momentum. It's also important to remember that Bitcoin was born in the wake of that global financial crisis of 2008, 2009. Gold has been a safe haven asset in lots of ways. It did drop during the beginning of the 2008 liquidity crisis, but then you saw it make a big run. And I think we're going to see a similar trajectory and similar opportunity around the crypto market overall. I think you're going to see kind of a basket of cryptos, which I also think creates a de-risk situation. On the next slide, this is kind of already started to play out. The S&P 500 year to date is down about 10%. Gold is up about 12%. The total crypto market is up more than 25%. You're seeing Bitcoin has led that rally, but I also think you're going to continue to see dynamics which are good for, as you've heard me say before, if it's good for crypto, it's good for Ripple.
Okay, well, I thought that it was interesting because I haven't really heard Brad Garlinghouse talk about safe haven status in terms of XRP very much, but he is talking about it remember, this was a virtual all hands meeting with his employees. Okay. So, but of course they thought that it was okay for all of us to see too. Well, after I saw that, then I started noticing things. Here's one thing I noticed. This is from El Crypto King. This is an article from Forbes. Digital asset investors await Fed remarks. This is an article from 2 days ago. On Wednesday, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell held a press conference following the central bank's 2-day policy meeting. So people are waiting on his policy decisions. It says digital asset investors have long made the argument that similar to gold, assets like Bitcoin will provide a counterbalance to Fed's monetary policy. One particular area of criticism is the expanding of the Federal Reserve balance sheet. So in other words, this entire article is written on this same concept that people are going to, the money is going to hit the exits and go into digital assets. In this case, he's mentioning like Bitcoin, safe haven status because of the irresponsibility of what has been done by the governments of the world. We've been talking about this for 2 years, but that wasn't it. So then I came across this video. The guy in this video is Corey Johnson, who used to be the spokesperson for Ripple. Listen to what he says.
I mean, store value certainly has been the singular investment theme, I think, when it comes to crypto, there with the variations thereof. But, you know, crypto coming out of the last financial crisis, Bitcoin coming out of the last financial crisis in particular, was really written with this kind of thing in mind, with the notion that the devaluation of name your currency through the printing of money just doesn't happen when there's a fixed amount of a thing. And there's a fixed amount of Bitcoin, and there's a fixed amount of Ethereum, and there's a fixed amount of XRP. And the result is this is really what this kind of financial crisis we're going through. The crisis, of course, is greater than financial right now. But the crisis we're going through right now really was made, Bitcoin was made for that.
So follow-up question, there has been this sort of debate within the equity markets about how much retail investors have been contributing to the current rally, right? People sitting at home, either who are working from home or maybe aren't working right now from home, who are trading stocks. And you posit that there are also quite a few people maybe who have gotten into crypto in this environment. What's leading you to that conclusion?
Yeah, it's really interesting. The commits to things like GitHub, when you look at the addition of the code that's been writing, there's been a real increase in the creative work done by people sort of building the infrastructure around Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and beyond. I mentioned those because they're the three sort of largest market caps and most actively traded among all of the crypto technologies, or cryptocurrencies, I should say. But it's a fairly interesting thing. I was going through some economic studies looking for something else, and I noticed some interesting numbers about people moonlighting, and had some conversations with some programmers that kind of back this up, that says that when programmers are working from home, they're not just working for their boss anymore. They're able to do side projects. Among the ridiculous and hilarious comments I got from programmers was, I'm a programmer, I don't have to waste time. People always ask me how I doing in the morning, and sometimes I have to go out with beers, and the amount of time wasted in human interaction is now gone. I can just program all day. So you've got these people for whom the workplace in the office was not really the most productive space, and with their extra time to be productive, they're being productive for somebody else.
Corey, Dan Roberts here. Good to have you back on. Let's get your take on the latest out of Facebook and Libra, because I remember even amid all of the hearings and all the politicians being concerned about it and going after it, people in your world, the crypto people, were saying, well, this is great for the space. Facebook getting in, this is a great thing. This is going to really bring cryptocurrency mainstream. People are going to pay attention to this. But now Facebook has seemingly revised the plans and including rebranding the wallet app, which was originally Calibra, and I think caused some confusion. But overall, it kind of looks like Facebook stepping back a little bit from Libra. What do you make of all of it? And are you still as bullish that Facebook can pull this off?
Yeah, well, I don't know how bullish I ever was on it, but I think that, look, Facebook has greater programming resources, arguably, than any company in the history of the world, and they have certainly got their mind fixed on making this thing work. And the issues that they're going to have, overnight, Facebook could drop 2 billion wallets on the world in their crypto world, and so that ability, the size of Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, those are 3 platforms with over 1 billion users each. The notion that they can do something with crypto and something that size, and with sort of the skill that they have internally in programming around that, I'm not going to count them out. The decentralization of Facebook, I'm starting to think of decentralization just generally more in terms of decentralization on a scale of how there isn't something that's 100% decentralized, and there are things that are probably not decentralized at all. But on the continuum of decentralization, projects like Ethereum, XRP, Bitcoin, are much more decentralized than Libra appears to be, and that's sort of something that the entire industry is going to wrestle with while Libra figures that out. But I think it's a long haul here. It's more than 10 years since the creation of Bitcoin, To me, the most interesting thing is sort of what are people going to be using the blockchain with, not besides speculation of store of value. And that's sort of my distinction between crypto on one side, which is a trading of an asset that may or may not have value because someone else is going to pay more or less for it. And then there's the functional blockchain. That's the use of blockchain to solve a business problem. And I think that's where real value is going to be created.
I wonder what he's talking about there. But again, at the beginning of the video, he went with the same narrative that we're starting to see from Brad Garlinghouse on Forbes and now Corey Johnson, this same narrative of how fiat's going to be affected by what's going on in a negative way, and that people could hit the exits and go to what Brad Garlinghouse called digital gold, which is XRP. And these guys, the theme is Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP, all of which have a limited amount. And that's kind of what we're seeing here. All right. So now let's move on to what I think is another narrative going on. The other narrative going on is this, that Chris Giancarlo, who's with the Digital Dollar, I always forget if it's called the Digital Dollar Project or Foundation, whatever it is. The other narrative that's going on is that here these guys are in the middle of this current crisis, and they're trying to come up with some idea. They haven't been thinking about it, but now they are. They're trying to come up with some idea of what we're going to do and how we need a digital dollar and all this. But it's as if they're all just now getting around to trying to figure this out, and China's way ahead of us. That is bunk, folks. What you're watching is political theater here. I don't care what anybody says. I'm not buying that they're just now creating this. He says, this is yesterday, they had that hearing. Today I was joined by two fellow Vanderbilt colleagues at Congress FinTech Task Force hearing. And then this is a tweet from Vanderbilt Law that he's tweeting out. The purpose of the hearing was to explore solutions to the difficulties of distributing stimulus benefits to low-income individuals and small businesses that lacked bank accounts during the economic shutdown created by the current events. So this is what caused them, and this is what I want you to think about. So what we're being told here is that the current events that are going on, okay, this is the reason that they decided that they needed to do this. No, because that assumes that the U.S. they were never concerned about anything like, say, their status as the world reserve currency. That was never a concern. That China just happened to come out with this digital currency and now all of a sudden the U.S. is scared. No. That is bull. Okay? So follow me here. So here's Chris Giancarlo. This is from Digital Assets Daily. Here's Chris Giancarlo.
Well, today I would like to discuss with you a far more fundamental digital dollar proposed recently by the Digital Dollar Project. It's a U.S. central bank digital currency, or CBDC as it's known. This type of digital dollar would be a new additional form of money. It would be a digital bearer instrument with the same legal status as the dollars in one's purse, but on a mobile device. It would operate alongside existing forms of money, distributed through the existing two-tier banking system, open to new entrants, and potentially recorded by distributors.
What do you need? Sorry, I was interrupted by my 7-year-old, so here we go. I'm going to play this again.
So today I would like to discuss with you a far more fundamental digital dollar proposed recently by the Digital Dollar Project. It's a U.S. central bank digital currency, or CBDC as it's known. This type of digital dollar would be a new additional form of money. It would be a digital bearer instrument with the same legal status as the dollars in one's purse, but on a mobile device. It would operate alongside existing forms of money, distributed through the existing two-tier banking system, open to new entrants, and potentially recorded by distributed ledger technology. Well, today I would like to discuss with you a...
So it'll be recorded by distributed ledger technology. What is distributed ledger technology? I think that we all know what distributed ledger technology is. And then you've got this guy who worked with Steve Mnuchin at One West Bank, and then he goes to Coinbase. Steve Mnuchin goes to the Treasury. Then he's all of a sudden voila, he's the comptroller of the currency because the other guy quits, who also worked at One West Bank with Steve Mnuchin. And remember, One West Bank was sold to CIT Bank, and then Mnuchin was one of the people that hired Stuart Alderati, who's the current general counsel for Ripple, right? This is from the comptroller of the currency of the United States, Brian Brooks, right? Blockchain has the potential to connect up in a decentralized network all kinds of data. It has the ability to create large, friction-free, decentralized networks of people. There's huge and great promise in blockchain and crypto. Brian Brooks, the former chief legal officer of Coinbase, says President Trump's head of OCC is bullish on Bitcoin and blockchain. And then there was this. So against that backdrop, okay, so here the United States is. We're caught on our heels, right? The United States just wasn't ready for this. China was so far ahead of us. The United States is just now getting around to figuring all this out, right? Well, Pentagon documents, this is from 2 days ago, Pentagon documents reveal the U.S. has planned for a Bitcoin rebellion. Bitcoin has struggled, Now it's been revealed the U.S. Department of Defense has wargame scenarios involving a Generation Z rebellion that uses Bitcoin to undermine and evade the establishment. In the Pentagon wargame, young people born between mid-1990s and early 2010s use cyber attacks to steal money and convert it to Bitcoin. Documents published by investigative news site The Intercept revealed. Well, so when I read this, what I immediately think to myself is, so what I'm supposed to think is that the United States, the Pentagon, has been wargaming this Generation Z having a rebellion and using Bitcoin. Okay, they've thought about that, but they have not wargamed the concept of the U.S. dollar being the world reserve currency, and which is what gives the United States its power, or one of the things that gives it its superpower status. They haven't wargamed that, right? That's what we're supposed to believe. But Harvard did wargame it.
On the stage tonight, you will see a live simulation of a National Security Council's Principals Committee meeting at the White House. Our scenario takes place 2 years from today, on November 19th, 2021. We have simulated a world in which one big thing has changed. In March 2020, the People's Bank of China launched a sovereign digital currency known as the digital yuan.
We're hearing reports that North Korea may be using China's digital yuan currency to evade sanctions and purchase weapons material.
Well, the digital yuan is an opportunity for the North Koreans to break free of the American hold on dollar transactions.
We're in a tight spot. Our major means to contain and deter the North Koreans has been financial sanctions. And now that's imperiled by the fact that North Korea is accessing the digital yuan.
I wish I had better news. Fundamentally, our ability to sanction North Korea in a devastating way depends upon Chinese cooperation.
We're more reliant than we have ever been on not our coercive power through SWIFT, but our persuasive power with the Chinese. And the Secretary of Treasury has already...
So, the point in showing you that is that this is the narrative, is that we're just now getting around to just exploring this digital dollar thing, and Donald Trump's China nightmare is coming true for the United States. This, by the way, is the same guy wrote this about the Pentagon documents reveal U.S. is planned for a Bitcoin rebellion. Well, this is what we are led to believe, is that the U.S. dollar's days as the world reserve currency could be numbered, with some of the biggest ever changes to government-backed central bank currencies looming, and China leading the field. That's what we're supposed to believe. Well, for you today, just for a limited time, if you believe that the United States has just been sitting on its hands while China does all of this, and that we're just caught off guard, and that now we're just now exploring this digital dollar, then I have something. I had an igloo for sale the other day, but now I want to sell you some diet water. Okay? Diet water, it's got to be something that would help you lose weight. I can't imagine that it wouldn't. Diet water, one of the funniest, this is sarcasm, by the way, but I've got some diet water that I want to sell. If you are naive enough to believe that the U.S. has just been sitting around, oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Look at China. Oh, no. Yeah. So that's a good laugh for you, but this is also a good laugh. Mr. B tweeted this out. I thought my quote was off the record. XRP, the standard productions, has struck again. PolySign opens for business to unexpectedly provide crypto custodian services. Now, we've been talking about PolySign all this time, folks, that they were going to provide custodian services. XRP, the standard productions, has broken this news that it's actually an actual custodian service. In other words, janitors. And all this time we thought PolySign was going to be custodying digital assets. This guy, XRP, the standard productions, is really on top of things. And he even quoted Mr. B's reaction to this. Mr. B says, here I am on pins and needles for years, waiting for something that will help to bring in billions of dollars of institutional money into crypto, said longtime XRP holder Mr. B. And it turns out they're going to be cleaning toilets. F you, PolySign. And I think David Schwartz also weighed in. He says, I'm not sure where that rumor came from, said Schwartz, speaking to XRP Productions reporters from the company's supply warehouse full of cleaning chemicals and mop buckets. Quote, PolySign has been and always will be about custodians. The best damn custodians a company can hire. Thank you very much. This guy, this one really made me laugh today, and I thought he needed to get some serious credit on this. So, by the way, for those of you that don't know, that is sarcasm right there. Okay, wanted to remind everybody, if you go in the description of all my videos, now you can still save up to 21% on these Ledger family packs, Ledger Nano S, if you want to store your digital assets safely. There's a link to this in the description of all my videos. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. Ledger people have up to 21% off on those family packs. Thank you for listening.